Therefore, we need to address the different areas where we can reduce contamination. And the first area that we can look at is personnel hygiene. And through personnel hygiene, we need to make sure that we are able to control our personnel clothing. So the process is not only through hand washing and boot cleaning independently. So the process works with each other in connection. So in terms of that, we can look at things like your control of your personnel clothing, access to sufficient number and easy to use hygiene stations. And with regards to that, usually we say a one hand wash basin for 10 people, 10 staff members that you have, which is similar to an adequate number of toilets as well and ablution facilities for the staff, which also is in that type of ratio where we look in 1 to 10. And proper hand wash practices together with shoe and boot cleaning systems as well. I had spoken previously with regards to training of staff, which is vital to ensure that your staff is well trained and they know exactly why they clean. And in terms of access control as well into your factory facility, which the HACCP system also calls for the company to know exactly who comes into their factory facility and that those people are following the right practices. So with regards to that, Sep earlier mentioned with regards to planning a production flow, that it's not only about supplying an equipment independently, it needs to flow in the right manner. As we know in the food facility, the flow is very important, and that goes for the flow of personnel into the hygiene area and therefore into the production facility. And what you're looking at there is the entrance of people into the production, into the hygiene area. And of course, when you look at that, there's your area, which is 6, position 6 there, where people are able to put on their personnel clothing, and then put on position 8 their hairnets. And if there's anything that they need to leave, of course, there will be boot storage areas as well there if they're coming in with their clogs, where they can leave their shoes and get into the right gear. When we look at position 1, where you have a soap dispensing unit with a turnstile, so that forms part of your access control facilities. And once people have soap in their hands, that is the only time that the turnstile is able to open to let them into the facility to wash their hands. From that point on, they're able to then go on to the next station where they clean their shoes and therefore sanitize their hands as well. Together then they will be able to, the turnstile will then be able to open up and let them into the facility. Therefore, there's a lot of planning that goes into this area. It's not anything that works independently. It's everything that works together for the right flow. And we look at position 5 there, where it may be then your emergency exit. Because you do have turnstiles into that area if that is the only exit that you have. And you can have then an emergency exit or have an exit in that area at position 5. Moving on to the next slide.
Just click the mouse, Lindy, and then we'll move on.
Trying with my arrows as well. Okay, so this is what we saw in terms of the equipment that we saw in position 1 up until I think about 4, and this is your hand soap station where you can receive your soap and the turnstile opened for you to be able to wash your hands. And this is something that is empirical, because people are therefore encouraged to wash their hands as frequently as possible, because it is so easy to use, while you have peace of mind as well, knowing that people do follow all the processes. And this is not only for big factories, and there are equipment as well that are ideal for the smaller factories, which is the equipment that you see there on your right hand side, which is an all-in-one system where you have your hand washing facilities with your boot cleaning systems. Therefore, you are able to also install in smaller facilities. And that unit that you see there on your right-hand side is wall-mountable, a wall-mountable unit. So even with limited space, then you're able to work it. And of course, the hand washing process is very important. Your staff needs to understand how they need to wash their hands. I think at this stage, we unfortunately enough, with the COVID situation, there are some positives that have come up through it, where in terms of enforcing hand washing, it is not as high on the list. People understand why they need to wash their hands, and they do it and do it effectively. I think we just should not forget, as time goes on, that this is still important even after COVID. And we look at our boot washing facilities. With boot cleaning, shoe cleaning, it's important because you are able to introduce contamination into your factory facility if you do not have proper control of your shoes. And we get asked quite often to say, I don't want to introduce any water into my factory facility, and if I have a fairly dry situation, and if people clean their shoes with water, then you do introduce water. In this situation, the unit that you see in the middle there, that is a dry unit. So the brushes are sterilized using UV, which then assists in a sense that you are able to wash your boots with water, step onto the system like this, where you can then dry your boots and proceed on into the factory facility, which can also be used in the bakery industry, where it is a completely dry environment. And these units are very easy to clean, which is the most important thing as well to focus on and look at in terms of making sure that the system is cleanable and the water is not stagnant in your boot washing system. So what happens there is that water comes in, fed into the brush, and your soap or your detergent is also fed into the brush as well. It cleans, and that is immediately drained out. Therefore, you have a system that is hygienic, and it is constructed in such a way that the moment you remove the brush, there's really nothing in the middle of the boot washer, where you are able to effectively clean it out. And we will deal with the construction and design of equipment as we go along, because cleaning is not necessarily only about the factory. So prior to that, sorry about that, is also a smaller unit. So this is just to show that the systems are ideal for any kind of facility that you have. So it's not only for big facilities. And when we look at contamination reduction, we need to consider as well the production flow. I mean, in a production facility, as you may well know, that we need to follow a straight line flow to minimize crisscrossing and in terms of your cross contamination. And we need to make sure that we have smooth rapid production. and there's no delay in storage, as we have learned today as well, in terms of drip loss and making sure that we don't get to that exponential phase of microorganisms multiplying. So we need to make sure that our products go through the system as quickly as possible. You will see as well that there's color coding within the system as well. Color coding is very important to make sure that your zones, you are able to identify your zones adequately. You are able to have equipment that is specifically for the different zones, and you do not have equipment going back and forth in the different zones, because that is where your contamination will therefore come from, especially for those areas which have high hygiene. You need to make sure that even the staff that works in the high hygiene area, they're easily identifiable with their PPE, and they're able to stay within that area of your high hygiene area. And of course, there is brushware that needs to be considered as well, to make sure that your brushware in your zone stay in that same zone. And we start talking about factory and equipment design, which is also important to make sure that you do not have any harborages of microorganisms in your equipment. Your equipment is easy to clean. And in terms of that, the location or the site location that you choose when you want to build your factory facility or any food production facility, you need to make sure that you choose the right site. And we have guidelines that can guide you in that essence when you look at the guidelines like your AirHedge, which gives particularly wonderful guidelines in terms of that. And your general design principles of your equipment. Your equipment should have adequate space for you to clean in your factory facility. You need to be able to reach every area, and no area is hidden from the cleaning aspect. You need to make sure that your surfaces are smooth and there's no crevices. As you can see in the picture that we have there, that is a hand wash basin where you do not have joinings of your backsplash to your hand wash basin, to avoid having crevices where food and moisture is, which is an ideal situation for microorganisms to harbor. And your equipment design should be in such a way that it is easy to clean, and everybody's encouraged to clean it as well. And in terms of your drains, this is the area where it is neglected quite a lot, because it is seen as water that's going out from the factory facility. But a drain is very important to clean and be able to clean it efficiently. And we've seen it through the outbreak that we went through not so long ago as well, that that is where your listeria will harbor. So you will have biofilms forming in that area if you're unable to clean it out efficiently. So you can see there that that drain, you're able to take out every piece of that drain to make sure that you drain out all the water from the drain, which is your water seal that prevents odors from coming from outside into your factory facility. But you should be able to open that up and drain all that water so that fresh water can accumulate. As well, you need to make sure that your drain is strong enough to handle the load of your forklifts. If you do have forklifts that are going through the area, your pallet jacks, even human weight can affect a drain that is not supported adequately with your epoxy filling. The reason why we make sure that the drain is strong enough to handle the weight is because once it isn't, then it actually breaks, and you then have cracks on your floor. With cracks on your floor, of course, then we are looking at a major issue when it comes to microorganisms accumulating there. So we need to keep focus on that as well. And Important as well is for us to look at our tactful cleaning. And in terms of tactile cleaning, we're looking at the different scientific attributes that help us in making sure that we clean effectively enough. And those attributes are temperature, your mechanical action, your chemicals that you use, and your time. And in terms of your temperature, of course, it may differ in a sense that some people who are cleaning out blood might be using cold temperatures. But if you are looking at cleaning things like fat and most of food products in a food facility, you are looking at higher temperatures. And the more you increase your temperature by 10 degrees at least, you are able to double the reaction rate. Therefore, that is something important that we need to consider. The action that is taken during the cleaning process. I have indicated previously to say we make cleaning so boring, and people are not encouraged to do it as frequently as they should. You hear people saying they deep clean once a week. That is not ideal. If you clean as you go and you clean frequently, you are able to not have a Friday deep clean right before knock-off time and people are just in a rush to leave, and that is not done efficiently. And the mechanical action in that area can be through humans, or it can be through foam cleaning, which we will go through in a second. And of course, the chemical that you use is important. The concentration of the chemical that you use is very important as well. There is a misconception to say the more you use, then the more effective it is. Instead, it isn't. Microorganisms form resistance when you use a higher concentration that you're not supposed to be using, and you will have more microorganisms growing in your factory. And the time that we speak of there is the contact time of the chemical onto the surface, to make sure that the chemical has enough time for it to act and then reduce the contamination in your processing facility. When we look at factory cleaning, we need to look at processes where we are able to validate our cleaning and sanitation programs. So we don't just take it for granted that we have a cleaning system and we have not validated it. So it's very important to make sure that we validate. The use of low to medium pressure cleaning systems is ideal, and I've specified there to say the medium pressure that we look at is about 10 to 30 bars, and your low pressure system is about 6 to 10 bars, ideally. And those are systems that are ideal because if you look at the picture on your right-hand side, you do see a deflection there and the distribution of particles in your factory facility. That is not ideal, because then you have microorganisms that are suspended in the water droplets. The moment that the cleaning is concluded, you will have settling of those microorganisms back into the surfaces that are supposed to be clean. And you will then wonder why your micro results always come back with contamination while you are cleaning. With systems like these, they are so abrasive to the equipment that you have as well. You will see that I have shown there on that picture that deflection happens on your high pressure systems. So those should be avoided in factory facilities. And when you look at your low pressure foam cleaning systems or low pressure cleaning systems, you do not have those aerosols that are suspended in the factory facilities. So it's more ideal to use such systems in food processing facilities. So, excuse me. Okay, so these systems come in different formats. So you do have systems that you can mount on the wall. And when you look at the system that we have on there, it's the one on your left-hand side. You have a main station that has a booster pump that is enclosed in a cabinet, and that is ideal for a system that is in your factory facility, because you will be foaming. You don't want to expose your booster pump to water. So therefore it needs to be enclosed. And this is a setup that is so easy to use. I will show in the video coming up shortly. So you have your water connection that goes into your station, and you have your air connection. So what you have there is you have a rinsing cycle using your hose. You have a rinsing cycle, then you have a foaming cycle where where air infuses with your detergent, and it creates foam, and that foam is therefore applied to the wall, and you will then have your mechanical action that we spoke about previously, where your cleaning system or your cleaning action then happens. After your contact time, then you can rinse that off. So that is an easier way to clean, where the operator is also confident in using it, because they do not have a lot of handles that they have to switch hoses and switch. That system is basically stagnant as it is up until you need to change your chemicals or you need to refill your chemicals. And the system that you're looking at on your right hand side, that is the booster pump that will then be sitting in your services area, and you will then have satellite units, as you can see on the presentation there. And your satellite units will then be fed from your booster pump that is sitting in your services or chemical room. Sometimes customers do put them in the roof, and they then run their piping down into the factory. So how the operator will then operate the system is through using the handle that you see there, where they just select the function that they would like to implement at that stage. When you look at that, you can see the red, which is not your off button. That is your acid foam, where you will use that for descaling. And your blue will be your alkaline foam, which you will generally use for cleaning in most situations or circumstances. The water droplet, that will be then your rinsing cycle, and you do then have your disinfectant, which is your the yellow one that you see there. I've indicated there to say we have different systems for different requirements, and the different systems are for every sized facility. So you do have a system where it is very much mobile, and you can move it from one area to the next. It's not recommended, though, that you use a system like this moving from your high care area into your low care area. So your high care equipment, as indicated previously, you need to make sure that you keep in that area and you do not move it to different areas, because that then may be a source of contamination into the different areas. Looking at those equipments as well, is that you can see there's different parts, amounts of parts that are protruding out, which are going into your chemicals. So the one next to the mobile system then becomes your one chemical. So meaning that you have your alkali foam and you have your rinsing cycle. From there, you have one with two chemicals, which you have your alkali foam, and you then have your disinfectant as well. And the other station then becomes your 3 chemical station, where when you use 3 chemicals, then that is the recommended system that you need to have. We'll look at the video quickly. Hope it can play for us. There we go. What we will see in the video is mainly the way the operator will then operate the equipment. These are the different industries that we are in, all the food industries, pharmaceutical industries that we operate in as well. So there you are looking at your booster pump, and you then have a station and how it would be mounted. So your booster pump is basically giving you sufficient water for you to be able to rinse in your areas and move all the debris. So it basically acts as a sweeping action in terms of it powers up your water. It gives you enough power in your water for you to be able to rinse out and remove debris from your factory floor. So this is what we spoke about, the smart switch. And you have your hose then coming from the top there. You then put your nozzles on and you start rinsing. So under normal circumstances, you have about 3 bars of water from your municipal water, 3 to 6 bars. So ideally, you'd want to have more pressure. So that's where the booster pump then comes in. More pressure, but not high pressure. So there you have your contact time after foaming. And he is now rinsing off after the contact time. So in essence, what we are looking at, and now he changes his nozzles again to get into our acid foam. And we can then now sanitize. In essence, what we mean is that if cleaning is this easy and it is this fun, you can imagine everyone then wants to make sure that cleaning happens and it's no longer something that is frowned upon. Okay. Perfect. And we then look at the automated cleaning systems. So with automated cleaning systems, you can pre-program what the previous guy has done in the video, where you have a program that says in this tank, this is how long you need to rinse. This is when you need to foam, and this is the amount of contact time that I need to have, and this is when I need to rinse. So it's an easy system where you can pre-program all the areas that you need to clean in an automated way, and this is achievable with conveyor belts as well. And of course, we need to look at the cleaning of our wheels in terms of forklifts and pallet jacks going into different areas. And there is a floor foam system that is able to do that. And as they transit between 2 different areas, you're able to have that foam for it to sanitize your wheels before it goes into a different area with a different either high care or medium care system. And we look at the crate washing aspect, the crates that we're using in the facility, those need to be cleaned as well. And when we look at that, we look at the kind of equipment that we use to clean our crates. So cleaning equipment also needs to be cleaned, and it then needs to be hygienically designed. What you're looking at there is a washing machine that has rotating arms, and those rotating arms ensure that there's water that gets into every area of the crate, and you're able to clean every area of the crate. You do find machines with stationary nozzles, and in those type of situations you find that you're not able to get to every area of the crate. So this is advancement in terms of cleaning systems, and it's similar to what you have in your dishwasher at home. In terms of cleaning the machine as well, there is absolutely every excess in the machine, where you are able to clean every area in your machine to make sure that there is no harborage of any microorganisms there. And in terms of cleaning, we look, when you see the picture on your left-hand side there, you do have your not sharp corners, where your corners are rounded, where you can access every area in your machine as well. And you're able to dismantle all the parts to make sure that it is easily cleanable. Factory equipment also needs to be cleaned, your pallets. So there are options available in the market to make sure that you efficiently clean your pallets and your factory equipment, your trolleys, and transit units are mainly preferred in terms of your cleaning systems, where you then put your equipment in from the dirty side and you take it out from a clean side, and you then are able to store it, and it goes through to your processing area. In this instance, we are still following the straight line system. Oh. And looking at cleaning and disinfection, there are other possibilities as well that we need to look at in terms of different methods where you are able to reduce the microorganisms during the processing of your products, to make sure that you do not have high counts at the end of the day when you have to clean. So there are systems available in the market where you're looking at that UV system. So UV then reduces the amount of microorganisms on your belts during the production facility. And as you can see there, that UV system is IP65, so you can have it on there. You don't have to remove it during the cleaning process. Sorry, that one is IP68, which means that it is waterproof. And when you look at the picture with the sausages there, we have air disinfection, where you have units that you can suspend on your roof with UV lights in the middle of them, where the air circulates in the UV lights and it is then disinfected. So you are sure, you make sure that you disinfect the air as well. What is fantastic about UV is that it's not only effective on microorganisms, but it is effective on yeasts and molds, and it's also effective on viruses as well. So it works on a concept of cleaving your DNA, and it then retards your microorganisms. And yeah, and there's other solutions with regards to water disinfection as well in terms of UV, and we've seen previously in terms of the hygiene equipment as well that there are systems that are available with regards to UV disinfection. So all in all, I believe that cleaning can be made easier, and it can be made more efficient and more enjoyable to make sure that people do it. Our product safety relies on it. And I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you. I put that picture up just to say that as the food industry, we really have the world in our hands, and it is very important for us to honor that and make sure that we do it with pride, and we make sure that the nations that we feed are fed with food that is not contaminated and well enough to eat. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Lindy. You can leave that slide there just like that. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for a very informative presentation. I love it when there's so many pictures about exactly how things have to be done. And if you said that cleaning could be fun, I'm wondering if I can have one of those in my kitchen. Jens said I can't have a defrosting unit in my kitchen, but maybe I could have one of those foaming things. I enjoyed it, and thank you very much for your informative